Hello guys, Art-Teeves here. This is the second part of my tutorial that covers the whole process of modeling and texturing a stylized glowing flower in 3ds Max, Resume and Substance Painter. If you like the content I make, be my guest and subscribe to my channel for more stylized videos. And now, let's get started. My texture padding is set to 16 and my overall resolution is 4K for this project. Nothing is overlapping. I set the highest possible amount of rays on all tabs, disable the ID section, and set subsampling to 16. Actually, a subsampling of 4 would be more than enough, and also, this model doesn't need textures with resolution over 2K. I start off by creating a separate folder for petal material. I will later use it on other parts of the flower with minor modifications. Make sure to name everything properly from the very beginning, doing otherwise may cause complete chaos. I create 2 different versions of my main material and add a linear gradient to the second version. Also, I mask the entire folder and unmask it for petals only by using the polygon fill tool. Colors and materials aren't final here. I'm not using any reference image, so I change settings for most materials once I get to see their interactions and the whole picture. You may want to use multiple gradients here, as you create an improvised color slope for each petal. Next I create a fill layer, mask it and apply a mask editor to it. Then I edit its curvature settings. This layer will be used to highlight edges of our leaves and petals. Eventually we will add some emission to it. Next I create a fill layer and give it a Dirty Leaks smart mask. At this point you may want to experiment with different grunges and smart masks to make a final decision on the preferred color scheme. I don't want to make my petals overly realistic, so I don't focus on details, texturing or adding some anchor points. I really enjoy blur filter for this kind of stylized modeling. Next I add another layer and disable all of its layer parts except for its height and normals. I give it a negative height and pick a matching grunge to give our petals some organic texture. I keep experimenting with grunges and color settings of corresponding layers as I make my mind on the final appearance of our petals. Next I duplicate this material, apply it to other parts of the model and play around with settings such as color, roughness, texture balance and curvature. The more I reuse this material, the more I try to bring all parts of my model to some kind of harmony by making them match each other. The trick here is to avoid bright colors. If you pick dim tones, it becomes a lot harder for you to fail with your palette. Also, for the flower's stem, I add a height fill layer and give it a grunge number 5 with edited tiling. I really like to use this one for organic things. I repeat the same process for the side leaf, nothing special about it. The secondary stem, or the vine, receives an edited version of the same material. My concept here revolves around giving it brighter color and making it look drier than all other parts of the flower. I reuse the same material for the flower's bulb and experiment with various grunges for some time. This concept here revolves around giving the bulb a lower value of roughness, making it look somewhat wet, and yet covering many of its parts with ground dirt and some other grunges. I reuse the vine material to create roots and then give them a darker color and a higher amount of roughness. You may want to cover them in dirt or some ground dust. As I rebalance colors again, I replace my main blue fill layer with the default creature skin smart material. Obviously, I edit all of its included layers the way they match my initial design, and also give them a relatively low amount of roughness. The closer you get to your final color scheme, the better it is to change the color map of your environment now and then, so that you review the look of your model with different light settings. I reuse the material we made before for the central part of the flower, bud connectors and the buds themselves. There's nothing special about it. Remember to give all glowing elements a default base color. This will help you a lot should you decide to manipulate their glow later on, or even to disable it completely. After I apply some final changes to color settings, I proceed and enable emission. I do this by enabling emissive settings in Texture Set Settings menu. Then I activate emission for particular layers. I do this for main color, petal edges, small spots on petals, and another version of bud's main color to give it some spots. Next I create a fix-it paint layer, change all of its blending options to pass through, and use a clone stamp tool to conceal all visible seams. I hand paint some central lines for the leaf with a paint layer that has slightly reduced height settings. I also hand paint slightly visible dark gradients for each leaf. I may have skipped that part of the video, but I've also added a semi-transparent black fill layer with high roughness to highlight all cavities of the flower. And we're done here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like the content I make, be my guest and subscribe to my channel for more stylized videos. And most importantly, have a great day!